Have you ever noticed how Italians sometimes describe actions without naming who's doing them? They use something called the Si Passivante, the passive si, a simple yet powerful way to focus on actions rather than on the doer. For example, instead of saying,
Tanta pizza è mangiata in Italia.
a lot of pizza is eaten in Italy, which is grammatically correct, native Italians would say,
Si mangia tanta pizza in Italia.
This is smoother and more natural and conversational. This is the Si Passivante in action. In this lesson, you'll learn how the Si Passivante creates natural passive sentences, how to use it with simple and compound tenses, modal verbs and pronouns, and when to choose it over the standard passive voice. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that Italian ads like
Affittasi,
for rent or
vendesi.
for sale are actually built with the Si Passivante? Stick around to learn how this fascinating shortcut works and how it can elevate your Italian. And don't worry about taking notes, I've done all the hard work for you. To help you to practice everything you're about to learn here today, make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet. It includes all the vocabulary and examples that you're about to see. Just click on the link in the description box below this video and I'll send it right to your inbox. Pronti? Iniziamo! Let's get started. Let's start with what is the Si Passivante in Italian? The Si Passivante is a unique way to form the passive voice in Italian, which is rather common in both conversation and writing. Not sure what the passive voice is? No worries, here's a quick refresher. The active voice follows the standard subject-verb-object pattern, with the subject doing the action of the verb, as in,
La ragazza legge il libro.
the girl reads the book. In the passive voice, the object becomes the subject of the sentence and receives the action of the verb. For example,
Il libro è letto dalla ragazza.
the book is read by the girl. The standard passive voice in Italian is formed with the verb essere, to be, followed by the past participle of the verb. For example, in the active voice, we say,
Qui vendono la pizza al taglio.
here they sell pizza by the slice. The standard passive voice is,
La pizza al taglio è venduta qui.
pizza by the slice is sold here. Sometimes the standard passive voice can sound a bit too formal or stiff. That's where the Si Passivante comes in. It's a more natural, fluid way to express the passive voice, and it's formed by using the pronoun si combined with the verb conjugated in the third person, either singular or plural. Here's how it works with the same example.
Qui si vende la pizza al taglio.
Pizza by the slice is sold here. The Si Passivante is especially useful to talk about general facts or actions in an impersonal way because this construction doesn't mention who is doing the action. This contrasts with the standard passive, where you can specify the agent by the preposition da, by. Let's take a look at 5 key characteristics of the Si Passivante. Now, these are distinct features that are key to understanding its function. The first one is, it is only used with transitive verbs. The Si Passivante can only be used with transitive verbs, which are those that require a direct object to complete their meaning. This is because the passive voice depends on the presence of an object that can receive the action of the verb. In contrast, intransitive verbs do not have direct objects, so they cannot form passive sentences. Take a look at this example. Active voice.
Da casa mia vedo il mare.
I can see the sea from my house. With the Si Passivante, it becomes,
Da casa mia si vede il mare.
literally, from my house, the sea can be seen. In this case,
Vedere.
to see is a transitive verb with
Il mare.
the sea as its direct object. In the passive construction, the object becomes the subject of the sentence and the action is described as occurring to it. The next key characteristic is that the direct object is always mentioned. In addition to requiring a transitive verb, the Si Passivante construction also needs the explicit presence of a direct object. Without it, the sentence would be incomplete or grammatically incorrect. Take a look at these examples.
In campagna si vive una vita lenta.
In the countryside, one lives a slow life. Here,
Una vita lenta.
a slow life is the direct object, and it is required to make the sentence meaningful. The next characteristic is verbs in the third person, either singular or plural. The verb in the Si Passivante construction agrees with the number, singular or plural, of the direct object. If the object is singular, the verb is in the third person singular. If plural, the verb takes what? The third person plural form. Take a look at these examples.
In questa trattoria si mangia una bistecca buonissima.
In this trattoria, one eats a delicious steak.
Bistecca.
Here is singular, so
Mangia.
eats is in the singular form. Compare this with
In questa trattoria si mangiano dei piatti buonissimi.
in this trattoria, one eats delicious dishes.
Piatti.
Dishes is plural, so
Mangiano.
eat is in the plural form too. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet, which you'll find a link to in the description box below this video. The next characteristic is the agent is never mentioned. Now, in these types of sentences, the agent, that is the person or thing doing the action, is not explicitly specified, and the action is presented as general or impersonal, similar to using one or people in English. Notice the difference in these three constructions. Active voice.
In Sicilia la gente parla un dialetto molto particolare.
In Sicily, people speak a very peculiar dialect. Standard passive voice.
Un dialetto molto particolare è parlato dalla gente in Sicilia.
A very peculiar dialect is spoken by people in Sicily. Si passivante, or the passive si.
In Sicilia si parla un dialetto molto particolare.
A very peculiar dialect is spoken in Sicily. See how the agent, the people, disappears in the si passivante, shifting the focus entirely to the action of the object. This creates a more neutral and impersonal tone. By the way, if you're curious to learn more about the difference between Sicilian and Standard Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. The next characteristic is it fits across different tenses and moods. Now you can use the Si Passivante in a variety of tenses and moods, from the imperfetto to the futuro, to the congiuntivo, to the condizionale. Take a look at these examples.
In futuro si costruiranno più case ecologiche.
In the future, more eco-friendly houses will be built. Future tense.
Si comprerebbero più libri se costassero meno.
More books will be bought if they cost less. Conditional. Now, if you're stuck on how to correctly use the subjunctive in Italian, you can watch my video lesson right here. Let's take a look at how to form the Si Passivante in Italian. Now, using the Si Passivante in Italian isn't complicated. Just follow these steps and you'll be adding it to your sentences in no time. Let's start with the Si Passivante with simple tenses. Now, with simple tenses like the presente, futuro, and imperfetto, the Si Passivante follows this construction. Si plus the verb in the third person singular or plural plus the direct object. Take a look at these examples.
Dove si comprano i biglietti per l'autobus?
Where can one buy bus tickets?
Nella mia scuola si organizzano anche corsi di teatro.
At my school, they also offer theatre courses.
Durante il trekking si deve bere molta acqua.
During the hike, you should drink plenty of water. Let's move on to the Si Passivante with compound tenses. Now, when using the Si Passivante in compound tenses, such as the passato prossimo or the past conditional, the auxiliary verb must always be essere, to be. Additionally, the past participle must agree in gender and number with the direct object. Take a look at the structure. Si plus essere in the third person singular or plural, plus the past participle, plus the direct object. Here are some examples.
Durante la festa si è bevuto molto alcol.
During the party, people drank a lot of alcohol.
Si è sentita la mancanza di Gianni.
Gianni's absence was felt.
Durante il viaggio si sono mangiati tanti piatti tipici.
During the trip, many typical dishes were eaten.
L'anno scorso si sono vendute meno riviste.
Last year, fewer magazines were sold. And to learn more about how and when to use the passato prossimo in Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. Now let's move on to how the Si Passivante works with modal verbs. Now with the Si Passivante, the modal verb is conjugated in the third person singular or plural, depending on the object they refer to, while the verb that follows remains in the infinitive form. Take a look at this structure. Si plus the modal verb in the third person singular or plural, plus the verb in the infinitive form, plus the direct object. Take a look at these examples.
Finalmente si possono comprare le fragole.
Finally, one can buy strawberries.
Si devono obliterare i biglietti?
Do tickets need to be validated?
Si vuole fare una ricerca più approfondita.
They want to conduct more thorough research. With compound tenses, the modal verb must agree in gender and number with the direct object. Take a look at this structure. Si plus essere in the third person singular or plural, plus the past participle of the modal verb, plus the verb in the infinitive form, plus the direct object. Here are some examples.
Si è potuto fare il bagno.
One could take a swim.
Si sono dovuti comprare i biglietti in anticipo.
Tickets had to be bought in advance.
Non si sono volute prendere decisioni affrettate.
People didn't want to make hasty decisions. Then we have the Si Passivante with pronouns. Now, similar to the Si Impersonale, the Si Passivante construction can be used with other pronouns. The rules for the word order remain consistent. Si is placed before the verb, and other pronouns must be positioned before si. Take a look at these examples.
Si trova il panettone? Sì, lo si trova già in molti supermercati.
Can one find panettone? Yes, it can be found in many supermarkets.
Si vede ancora la macchia? Non la si vede più.
Can one still see the stain? No, it can no longer be seen. Now, to learn more about how and when to use all pronouns in Italian, you can watch my video lesson right here. Okay, now let's take a look at the position of the direct object in Si Passivante constructions. Now, the direct object can appear either before or after the verb. Both positions are grammatically correct and convey the same meaning, but the choice of word order can subtly affect emphasis or style. For example, placing the direct object after the verb is the most common and neutral option. In this type of construction, the emphasis is generally on other elements such as time, place, or manner, depending on the context. Take a look at these examples.
Venerdì si mangia il pesce.
On Friday, people eat fish. In this sentence, the focus is on venerdì, Friday, as the day when fish is eaten.
La sera si guarda la TV.
The TV is watched in the evening. Here, the focus is on la sera, the evening, as the time for watching television. On the other hand, placing the direct object before the verb shifts the focus to the object itself, highlighting it as a key element of the sentence. Take a look.
Il pesce si mangia venerdì.
The fish is eaten on Friday.
La TV si guarda la sera.
The TV is watched in the evening. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet for this lesson, which you'll find a link to in the description box below this video. Let's take a look at 4 common uses of the Si Passivante. Take a look. The first one is, it is used to talk about collective habits or customs, particularly within a specific culture or society. For example,
In Italia non si beve il cappuccino dopo le 11.
in Italy, people don't drink cappuccino after 11 a.m.
Non si mette il parmigiano sul pesce.
People don't put Parmesan cheese on fish. Now, to learn more about Italian culture and 48 things you shouldn't do in Italy, make sure you watch my video right here. Now, it is also used to talk about rules and to give instructions. For example,
In quel supermercato non si vendono alcolici dopo le 22.
in that supermarket, alcohol isn't sold after 10 p.m.
Prima di servire si aggiungono sale e pepe a piacere.
Before serving, add salt and pepper to taste. It is also used to write commercial advertisements. In Italian ads and classified listings, the Si Passivante is often used in an abbreviated form, where si merges with the verb ending. This creates concise expressions like
Affittasi,
instead of,
si affitta.
meaning for rent,
Vendesi,
instead of,
si vende.
for sale, and
Cercasi,
instead of,
si cerca.
wanted. Take a look at these examples.
Vendesi biglietti per il concerto di Taylor Swift.
Tickets for the Taylor Swift concert for sale.
Affittasi appartamento vista mare.
Sea View apartment for rent.
Cercasi guida per gruppo di turisti olandesi.
Guide wanted for a group of Dutch tourists. It is also used to ask how to say or write something properly. For example,
Come si dice entrata in inglese?
how do you say entrata in English?
Come si scrive la parola cielo?
How do you spell the word cielo? Let's take a look at understanding the difference between the Si Passivante and the Si Impersonale in Italian. The Si Passivante and the Si Impersonale can easily be confused because their structures are almost identical in Italian. However, they serve different purposes. The Si Passivante creates passive sentences where the subject of the action is not explicitly mentioned. On the other hand, the Si Impersonale is used to make general statements or describe actions done by people in general. Take a look at this table to see the key characteristics of each construction. Si Passivante, purpose, passive construction with unspecified subject. Verb, only transitive verbs in the third person singular or plural. Direct object, always present and clearly stated. For example,
Si producono molti vini in Italia.
many wines are produced in Italy. Si Impersonale, purpose, general statements without a specific subject. Verb, intransitive verbs or transitive verbs, always conjugated in the third person singular. Direct object, not present. For example,
In Italia si vive bene.
people live well in Italy. Now, to learn more about how and when to use the Si Impersonale in Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. And to continue your learning and to help you practice everything that you've learned here today, make sure you download your free PDF cheat sheet for this lesson, which you'll find a link to below this video. If you enjoyed this lesson, then you'll love Intrepid Italian, my series of online self-paced video courses that break down everything you need to know about Italian using my unique 80-20 method. More details in the description below. Now, if you enjoyed this lesson, don't miss my lesson on how to use all 15 tenses in Italian, which you can do by clicking right here. Plus, if you want to master Italian word order and sentence structure, make sure you watch this video lesson right here. In the meantime, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on those notifications so you make sure that you get an alert when I post more video lessons like this one. Until next time, un abbraccio, ciao!